A very good evening. You are tuned into India Ahead News, and I'm Aditya Nantaranan. Right now, we have a very special guest joining us. We are joined by Mr. Shashi Tharoor, Congress Member of the Parliament, who has seen in the last couple of years probably all shades of spectrum of what politics is all about in India. Thank you so much, Mr. Tharoor, for joining us. We are glad to have you on
Pleasure.
board. Uh,
Good to
Mr.
be with you.
Tharoor, Congress Party today has been raising some critical issues as far as the Pegasus leak is concerned. And probably since last night, there are different angles, different aspects, different layers to the story which have been coming out. You're aware of the statement that was made by the IT minister on the floor of the House in the Lok Sabha.
Yes.
But first of all, if I come to you, very simple question. Do you think a surveillance of this kind is possible in India?
Possible, of course, it's possible anywhere in the world. You just have to have the technology or access to it and the will to deploy it. So, yes, it is possible.
But the clarification that the government is going ahead and giving that as per the Indian law and they follow the rule of the land, you cannot go ahead and do anything which is called an illegal snooping or illegal surveillance. There's only legal interception that can only happen after permission is given by respective authorities, and it only happens in two cases: one in case of national security and the other in case of emergency. Do you buy that argument by the government?
On the legal side, that's absolutely accurate in the sense that while the Indian government has the power to surveil, monitor, and decrypt communications under both the Telegraph Act of 1885, Section 5, and the IT Act of 2000, Section 69, both of which allow for the interception of telephone communications and electronic data in the interest of the sovereignty and integrity of India, or preventing incitement to the commission of an offense, which includes, of course, crimes including terrorism. All of that kind of interception would be perfectly legal. But even then, under the Supreme Court guidelines of 1996, it can only be ordered by the Home Secretary at the center or in the states, then must be sent to a review committee within 1 week, and it can be renewed but never beyond 6 months. So there are very clear procedural safeguards. At the same time, hacking is against the law. We look at the IT Act, Section 43 and Section 66 read together will tell you that unauthorized access to a computer device, resource, or network can actually attract imprisonment or a fine or both. And taking control of devices or hacking them through spyware or malware is also a gross violation of the right to privacy recognized by the Supreme Court in the Puttaswamy judgment. So surveillance using a spyware tool like Pegasus would be illegal unless those who have done it can demonstrate otherwise. And that's why as soon as I heard this, I called for an independent investigation of the entire Pegasus affair. It's really quite a serious charge in a democracy when such things are clearly seem to have taken place. Because as you know, the list, the database is of either sort of actual or potential targets of surveillance. But amongst the names in India, some of the phones of those people have been forensically analyzed, and it has been confirmed that they actually did have Pegasus hacking on their phones. So that proof suggests that something here does potentially involve a very serious offense. If the government has done it, then how have they done it? On what basis? With what authorization? And is it not illegal? If the government has not done it, which is what the IT minister's statement in Parliament implies, if the government has not done it, then some other government must have done it, because Pegasus says, NSO says that they only sell Pegasus to vetted governments. So some other government, being, say, China or Pakistan, snooping on our citizens is an even more serious concern in terms of national security than what Prashant Kishore or Rahul Gandhi are thinking. And therefore, it seems to me that that too warrants a very serious investigation, both in the interest of our national security and indeed, I might add, of our national self-respect.
And Mr. Tharoor, you've already taken names of Rahul Gandhi and Prashant Kishore, and as per the media reports, they were also in that list and that database of the people who could have been impacted by the Pegasus spyware. But apart from Rahul Gandhi, we have names of Prashant Kishore. We also have names of people in the current Council of Ministers the IT minister who gave a statement on the floor of the House a short while back, Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav, another union minister in the Council of Ministers of the Government of India, Mr. Prahlad Singh Patel. There are such names which are coming out, which raise probably a lot of eyebrows in the sense that probably, as you said, that it can happen. So when you think that it could happen when it comes to journalists, activists, opposition leaders, but when we're seeing the names of bureaucrats, officers, and also ministers within the current dispensation, how do you react?
See, the motivation can vary from case to case. It seems that the lady who accused former Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi of sexual harassment, she and 11 of her family members and associates were also hacked. So that's one kind of motivation. Rahul Gandhi, Prashant Kishore, a different kind of motivation. Hacking journalists has often more to do with who the journalists are talking to, who the journalists are meeting, what they're finding out, more than what kind of shopping they're doing or what personal life they're leading. That's a third kind of motivation. So it's not as if there's only one reason to hack people. So if you start spying on your own or people who perhaps one day will become your own, maybe you either had doubts or misgivings or you were trying to clear doubts or misgivings. All these things are possible. But having said that, we don't know. And I'm the first to admit that all of what we're saying is pure speculation. All we do know is that Pegasus has been used on the phones of Indian victims. At least some names, I think in India it was 10 names, have been confirmed, verified to have been hacked by Pegasus. And there are perhaps 100 more whose phones have not been forensically analyzed, but who may have had the same experience because they're on the same list. Hundreds more, who knows? Now, in this situation, isn't there a responsibility on the part of the authorities to conduct, or at the very least to enable, a thorough, far-reaching, in-depth, independent investigation?
Mr. Tharoor, the statement that was given out by the IT minister on the floor of the House today also was very interesting because he picked up from where the statement of NSO. Now, NSO has clearly mentioned that the database of the names that came out yesterday via media reports that were not part of the internal database that Pegasus as a software was using. However, in the same breath, they also mentioned that they could have been part of a larger database that the organization or the outfit is using. And Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav also did not really clarify. And in the past, also when the issue of NSO, Pegasus, spyware, and a possibility of surveillance questions have been raised at the government of India, they haven't cleared the doubt, number one, on whether Pegasus is being used here in India or not. And number two, that if at all there is a surveillance of any kind, if not on part of the government of India, then can there be a larger probe to understand where are these names actually coming from?
Yeah, I mean, the fact is that that's actually a less relevant question simply because we already have evidence of people in India whose phones have been compromised. 2 years ago in 2019, the Toronto Citizens Lab alerted 131 people that they had been hacked with Pegasus, and many of them wrote to me as chairman of the IT committee, and we summoned their representatives to come and testify before our committee. So people have been hacked by Pegasus. Rahul Gandhi, Prashant Kishore, and others, their phones have been forensically analyzed, and it is confirmed that they were actually infected with Pegasus. So it's not a question of whether that database may or may not have been used for Pegasus. Here are Indians whose phones actually have had Pegasus inside them. So the question is, who put them there? The company selling Pegasus says we only sell to governments. So which government did it? I mean, these are the questions to which we have no answer. The government says, of course, that that no unauthorized surveillance take place in India. In that case, why would it be possible to authorize a surveillance of a political operative? Clearly, there would be no logical basis under the law to permit it. And secondly, if it wasn't authorized, then who has done it? Who has done it to the citizens of India? And surely the government wants to know that.
And Mr. Tharoor, you're also the chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on IT. So that also puts you in a situation or in a position where you can probably get the people who could be party to this to have a deeper understanding? Do you think that is something that you would want to take up? Because monsoon session of the parliament is currently underway. A statement has been given by the government. However, not only Congress, but other political parties in the opposition ranks are also demanding some clear-cut answers from the government.
Yeah, I mean, I think clearly accountability is required. I mean, the committee does have three different topics on its agenda, which in one way or the other cover this: citizens' data security and privacy, safeguarding citizens' rights and prevention of misuse of social and online news media, and review of the cybersecurity scenario in India. So all these three topics are relevant to the question of Pegasus being put on people's phones. Now, the committee has the power under the various rules of parliament to summon witnesses and documents, and for persons, records, and so on. But equally, there is no question that that the committee itself will have to agree on calling in the witnesses on the subject. The truth is that when in 2019 there was the episode of Toronto Citizens Labs and the Pegasus breach through WhatsApp, at that time there was a move by a number of ruling party members in the committee not to have a discussion on the subject at all. And that move in the end was defeated, as it happens, by my casting vote. But the truth is that we may have to go through all that procedure again to be able to discuss the issue. Nonetheless, it will certainly come up. I have very little doubt about that.
That will be interesting. One more question that I want to ask you. The Congress has been demanding JPC probe. Will you go ahead with this demand now that an official statement from the government side has been made on the floor of the House?
Look, I've given you my reasons why an independent inquiry is required. Whether it's through a JPC probe or whether it's through an independent judicial inquiry remains to be seen. But either way, some sort of inquiry and investigation is indispensable in my view. And it's quite apparent that as far as the party is concerned, they're rightly not going to let this go, because obviously what has come out of today's news is that the then president of the party was directly targeted, and we're seeing that the only possible benefit of this kind of targeting can only be political, and that must be something which no political party is going to likely let go. So we will have to pursue this further. Yes.
Just last question before I let you go, Mr. Tharoor. That a momentum is always created in the beginning of a session. But, as in time passed, we have seen several critical issues actually fizzling out. Now you're saying that you will continue to demand either an independent inquiry or a JPC probe. Can the opposition parties, not only the Congress, but the Congress and in support of other opposition parties, do you think that you will be able to sustain that momentum and the pressure on the government that, that this issue becomes one of the most important talking points in the current session?
I certainly hope so. We have so many major issues. This is now one more on top of everything. We have the farmers' protest, we have the economy, unemployment, price rise, which is colossal, fuel taxes, the China border situation, Afghanistan. I mean, there is no end of issues. This now has come on top of the whole lot. And of course, in terms of urgency and the explosive nature of the allegations, the allegation read at its worst is that someone in the government has actually conducted illegal activity against political opponents. That's a very serious charge. Obviously, all of these are matters that we will continue to be agitated about, and that we'll continue to demand satisfactory answers to. Yes.
Mr. Tharoor, for joining us. So very important points that have been made by Mr. Tharoor, who not only says that as the chairperson of the IT committee, this issue is likely to come up, but also that the opposition parties, especially the Congress, will continue to demand either a JPC or an independent probe. We have to wait to see how the government really react on it, whether the one statement made by Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav was the end of the discussion, or whether we can see this issue, whirlpooling in a scenario that we will see more ministers of the government of India come out and give a clarification. Mr. Tharoor, thank you so much for joining us here on India Ahead.
Thank you.